Hello, everybody. Welcome. Sorry about the little bit of delay. Technical issues on my end, on Chris's end. It was a crazy thing. Hey, welcome to a very special night for IncrediChat. And we got a great guest tonight. We've been working to get him on here for a while now. We're just not going to waste any time. Welcome to the show tonight, Chris Stulz. Welcome, Chris. I know, fun technology. Don't you love it?
Oh, always something. Always something. And I'm a pretty technical person, but all these things, for whatever reason, they work all day when I was setting this up. And of course, as we are about to, join and see everybody, that's when they decide to not work. So it is what it is. We're here now. So hopefully everybody will join us.
That's how these things work. And I mean, yes, hopefully I'm going to share it out too. Folks, if you're watching or if you're watching this later on, whatever, share it out, let people watch it. But like I said, we got Chris here tonight, finally. Chris, welcome to IncrediChat. It's been a while since we've seen you. Last time you were on with us a while ago.
I was looking through the videos today and I looked, and this is really bizarre because it was almost exactly
Are you serious?
1 year ago.
Wow.
Almost, it was like February 17th or something. It was like so close. Like I looked at him like, wow, that's really weird.
Holy crap! When was it? That wasn't in 20. Was that? That wasn't. No, it was 2021 then, right? Yeah.
2021. It was me, Tim Clark, and Kassane Gaines. We were having a Dark Crystal chat, and I was like, wow, that's really crazy. Almost exactly 1 year ago.
That's hilarious. And again, what a freaking small I didn't say the bad word, freaking small world and craziness, like unbelievable. Yeah. So welcome back to IncrediChat tonight. And again, I know we got one person. Thank you for watching us. Whoever's watching, thank you for watching
we're live. Hopefully more people will watch us later, but we're here. So ask away, right?
We're on YouTube anyway, so it's okay. We're gonna live in infamy. So Chris, last time you were here, we were talking Dark Crystal, of course, but I guess probably the last time I saw you physically before that was over hey Sergey, welcome to the show tonight. We were over in the Great Philadelphia Comic Con because you came to dinner with myself and Noel McNeil, Jim Martin, and we had a ball. We had a ball.
Back when we could go out and do things. I mean, conventions are starting to come back again. The world is starting to pick back up. I'm looking forward to having that show again. I don't know if those guys are going to come back, but yeah, if you guys are back in the area, I'd love to do that again. That was a blast. It really was.
Well, and I mean, for folks who follow you, you were kind of like a little bit, I guess, I want to say you're a little bit of an online celebrity now, though, too.
I consider myself a Z-list internet celebrity.
Me too. Yeah, because we do these things, but I mean, you join you go on some of these cool adventures thrifting with Cinema Sickness, and I saw that you now are starting to do your own podcast channel with your great collection, of course.
Yeah, so I made some videos, a few years ago, and kind of life got in the way, and I kind of put that to the side. I shot a bunch of videos, especially during COVID, but again, life gets in the way then too, even with that. And I have a bunch of videos shot, and I'm still just editing them. It takes a little while, so I've been shooting new stuff and editing the old stuff. So you're going to see some new videos, some old videos, everything kind of coming out sporadically. I'm not going to set a time and saying it's going to come out weekly or daily because I know that's not going to happen. So they'll be out. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notifications about when things are going to be up. So you'll be like, oh, well, there's a surprise. Chris has a video. I'm going to try to put them out on Fridays, but it won't be every Friday. It'll be like every other Friday, or maybe once a month or something. We'll see. But that being said, the major video that everybody was asking for the last few years has finally been released, and that is a video tour of the museum as it stood about a year and a half ago. That's how long I shot that. So it's changed since then. But that's the way that's the video that's going to be up there for a long time. And eventually I'll do another video when I get a few more things together here. But yeah, so I shot those videos years ago. A mutual friend of Dave and I, Cinema Sickness, Joe Fiore, he is the one that put Dave and I kind of together and said, you guys should really, meet up and start doing videos together. I think you guys would be a good match. and it's been great. So Dave and I go out. He does over in Cinema Sickness. If you're not familiar, his channel is all about media and thrifting and finding things to resell and collectibles for his own collection, all this stuff. So along the way, I look for Muppet stuff, and the two of us go out hunting and go to all kinds of things. So there's videos of us doing that, and then there'll be videos of me showing you what I collected and a little of the history behind it and when it came out and that kind of stuff. So it's been really fun.
And like, and watching, and I mean, I'm just going to give you the full screen for a minute because I want people who are watching. We got some people finally checking this out here now. Guys, ask questions too because Chris has to grow up. Okay, we want to see Chris, not me. Hold on. All right, I hit the wrong button for you, Chris.
Right. And I'm going to get out of the way a little bit, so
there it is.
I'll get out of the way this way too, so people can see a couple of things behind me. This is a small corner that I'm in. It's the majority of the museum and the collection is in front of me, which again, watch the video on YouTube and you'll see it's not short. It's about an hour and 15-20 minutes long, but I go through obviously not every single piece in the collection, but I pick out a few things that interest me along the way, something in each kind of shelf or each cabinet to talk about. But I mean, by all means, I'm sure people are going to say, hey, I like that thing over there. Can you talk about that thing? What is that and what is this? So that's what I like to see in the comments, and I kind of chat back. So if anyone's watching tonight, or Mike, if you have a question about something that's behind me or something you saw in the video or whatever, please feel free, and I'll try to remember exactly what the story behind it. But there's about 3,000 items here or more, so there's a story behind most things.
Yeah, and it's growing. So I mean, I guess my first question to you, Chris, is Muppets, right? How did this begin? I mean, because I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan of a lot of other things too. But how did you start this and be like, you know what? I'm just going to collect every piece of Muppet memorabilia on the planet.
So this is the $1 million question, right? How did it all begin? And for years, I could not even remember, and that's part of the story, right? It happened so long ago that it's really actually before my consciousness even took hold. And the best recollection of how it all began that I can summarize about how it is that it's all my aunt and uncle's fault. And most of my so most of my cousins that are older than me by about 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
So to date myself, I was born in 1979, which was sort of the height of the Muppet show. The Muppet movie had just come out, so the height of Muppet Mania, really. And so they were born 1972, 69 in that area. So they were born right at the height of the Sesame Street, parade, like right when it came out through the gate and just blew up, right? Yeah. So now when they're 7 to 10 years old, a new baby comes along, and my aunt and uncle, I guess, say, well, you don't need this Sesame Street stuff anymore, so we're going to give it to Chris. And, they were 10 years old and, whatever. So that's how I came to have some of the early Sesame Street records. I guess, I always had the Muppet movie soundtrack, the Muppet Show soundtrack, things that literally came out before I was born, I had already.
Yeah.
So I kind of got a jump start, right?
Gotcha.
And back in those days, we didn't have, VCRs were pretty new, so you couldn't just watch the show when you wanted. You couldn't take, you could just start to begin to tape things when you wanted to. But of course, as a 2-year-old, I was not doing that. I didn't have that ability quite yet. But by the time I was, I'm going to say 5 or 6, maybe even 7, I was doing that. I was taping things off TV. I was going to, back in the day, we had these things called video stores.
Yep.
I was going out and renting the videos because before you could even, today you could just go to Best Buy or stream something. You could only really rent movies. the movies were so prohibitively expensive from the distributors.
I remember, like, I worked at Suncoast Video.
Me too, back in the day.
Really work at Suncoast. So you remember, like, you would have, like, once in a while a movie would come out and it'd be like, $25, but then, like, I want to buy Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. It was one I remember. And, that was for Enterprise, $89.99.
Right.
Who the hell would buy a movie for $90?
Right. I had actually had that happen. I returned the movie, and it was due, and I was like, oh, I got to get this thing in. It's due. I don't want to pay the $3, and the drop box or whatever wasn't working, so I left it right in the door wedge or something, and someone took it. Someone stole the movie that I had tried to return, and so they charged me $90.
Oh my God.
For the $2 I was trying to avoid. But yeah, these are the struggles we had, kids, back in the day. But yeah, that's how the old shows. I was going out and renting they had a series of Playhouse videos that were just compilations of the Muppet Show, and so that's really between the records and those videos. That's how I watched the Muppets back in the day. You could only watch the Muppet movie, Dark Crystal, Rip Up a Caper, and Muppets Take Manhattan. Those were the first movies you could really watch over and over again. But HBO was a thing, so I would tape things off HBO so there wouldn't be commercials. And I just had those tapes. I just wore them out. I either was copying tapes from the video store, taping things off TV, and that's how we did it back in the day. And that's how it all came to be. And it wasn't until I was about 10. I don't know, something happened. And I was like, I have these toys from when I was a kid. And I was still collecting them and playing with them, but something happened around when I was 10 and was like, you know what, now I want to do more, and now I want to collect things and save things and kind of keep things nice and keep things in the packages. Maybe I'll open one, and buy another to keep in the package, because I was starting to see things like Star Wars and some other kind of things starting to be more collectible, and I thought, not now, maybe it's not, but maybe someday it will be. And and all collectibles have their time, right? Things ebb and flow, but something around that time, and that's how it began. And my parents were like, okay, well, we went to IKEA and we bought a cabinet. And I remember my dad specifically saying, okay, here's a cabinet, you can have this, do not go past this. Here is the cabinet. Well, one cabinet turned into two cabinets, turned into so it was just all over the place in my old parents' in my old childhood bedroom.
Look at those cabinets, right? Jesus.
Yeah, and so when I bought my house a few years ago now, I specifically set out to find a place where I could put or at least a majority of my collection out, without it being in my living room. I didn't want it to just be around where guests could just knock something over. I wanted to have people over and gatherings without it being everyone's surrounded by Muppets constantly. So I had to find a house that had a space that was off the beaten path from the rest of the house that I could put this in. And I found this house that had this loft space that's I guess a normal person would use it as a spare bedroom, but it would be a fairly large spare bedroom. So when I looked at the house and I saw this place, like, oh, this has potential, this can work. So that's where the museum currently resides, in this loft space in my house. And for the most part, if you're in my house, unless you knew it was here, you probably wouldn't even know it was up here, because it's not just readily accessible. Yeah. It's behind like a closet, like a benign closet door, and once you open this benign closet door, the madness awaits.
So now let me ask, because I know and I was talking about this when I put this on the ad, and you were on MeTV, the collector's call, right? So yep. Obviously this was done during the pandemic, so you never had any like the film studio. Have you had? I mean, and has anybody from Henson come to check it out? Or any other news media places come to check this museum out?
Not yet, not in that capacity. So with MeTV, I saw the show, and I reached out to the producers and said, hey, this is cool, because it said like on the website, if you have a collection of things, reach out to us, maybe you'll be on the show, blah, blah, blah. And I would say it was like maybe 6 to 8 months after I sent that initial email, one of the producers contacted me and said, "Hey, we're looking for extra episodes to shoot during the pandemic, for places that maybe we wouldn't necessarily go with the film crew because they're either smaller places or they're not in our general shooting area or whatever. So would you be interested?" I said, "Oh, of course." So yeah, we shot it here by myself, and I was the first one. I think I was the second episode aired or third episode aired, but I was the first one shot. So they were trying to figure out what to do. I was trying to figure out how it was going to work. So it was a big technical issue that in that regard, and it took us most of a day. I would say we shot that, and it's not shot like a typical show where you shoot it kind of out of order. We shot it pretty much in order, and we would refine things, and like I would say something, you don't know, oh, it'll be funny if you said this, or I would make a joke about off camera with something like, oh, that's really funny, you should use that. So we would kind of play around, which was really nice. And I've kept in touch with people from the show, so I'm hoping that if they make that show again, I'm not sure if they're actually in production of that show anymore. But if they are, I've been in talks of maybe actually having people here in person. As far as anybody else that's been here, Tim Clark, who you may know,
of course.
I think he's been on your show right here. Oh, he was on with me. Yeah, exactly, right. So Tim Clark, if you're unfamiliar and you're watching, he was a puppet builder and designer for the Henson Company. He helped design and build Uncle Traveling Matt. He's the creator of the Boglins, which are back now. He really pushed for those. And that's a funny story too, because as a kid, I begged my parents for a Boglin. I was like, "These are so cool! Look at these puppet things. They're so creepy and they're gross. It's great." And my mom was like, "Those are disgusting and weird and gross, and you are not getting this." I'm like, "Oh, but if it was a Muppet, you'd get to me." She goes, "But it's not a Muppet, so it doesn't count. You're not getting it." And now I find out, like 30 years later, that it is connected, and I could have gotten a Boglin this whole time. I could have used a loophole, but I got a Boglin now.
Spider or the Fly or whatever they had. Tim did those, the Sectar characters.
That's right. And I didn't realize that till years later either. But now I have a Boglin. It is signed by Tim, and he was here. He signed my Funko Pop of Uncle Traveling Matt, as well as a couple other things now in the museum. So yeah, so he was here. He was here for a convention, and we were talking. And I said, "Hey, you should come and check out the museum." It was on his way to where he was staying. Only I'm relatively close to a couple major highways and freeways in the area. So if you're in the area here, it's like, oh, it's only like 5 or 6 minutes, from there. So he came over and was blown away, as everyone else is that sees it for their first time. They were like, they start getting in my head. They're like, "What is going on with you?" And but it was that's the only person that's been here. I hope to see Lisa Welchel. Is going to do an appearance at Schiller's Theater in New Jersey in a couple of months. So I'm hoping to run into her and talk to her in person, since we didn't get a chance to do that live here. It was just over Zoom. So that'll be nice. But otherwise, no, that's the only thing. One of the requirements, I'm trying to get the collection Guinness certified, and one of the requirements to do that is you have to have some sort of local media cover it.
Gotcha.
So once that happens, there'll probably be some more hype and some more media attention. But the problem has been, even during COVID, I was really getting my spreadsheets together. But when you're trying to catalog this many items retroactively, it is people have commented and joked that I should hire an intern to come. So anyone that's watching, if you want a unpaid internship that doesn't give you any college credit or anything, but you're looking to learn how to use Excel, you could definitely be my intern and help me catalog things, because I definitely need the help.
And you never know. You might be able to hook them up with like an extra, like Miss Piggy Pez or Kermit socks.
Right.
Who knows?
You can literally work for Pez.
So with this collection too, I mean, of course, I know you. I mean, would you say this is probably the only and fullest Muppet collection that's out there in the world right now?
I mean, there are people that I've been talking to on Facebook and online for years, and they tell me that they have more items than me.
Wow.
Apparently, they say, oh, why I have like X amount of items. Like, holy mackerel. But they have it in storage. They only have some of it out. They don't have this. I mean, I have probably the largest collection currently on display that's out there. I mean, I do have a bunch of stuff still in storage and that is away, and I try to rotate some things. But the amount of things I have out on a daily basis is probably the largest in the world. And that's why I like to get Guinness, in here sometimes. I mean, I don't even know if I need to do the spreadsheet. If they just show up here, they're like, oh, well, we're done. we're done here. Yes.
Well, and because that's the other thing too with your collection, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, and again, I have a Muppet collection, and again, I have things, and I think everybody does. They have some things that are very unique in the collection, and like you said, a story behind them. I'm going to share one of, and I don't know if you have one of these. Maybe you have one of these, but this is going to lead me into the world of collecting and Muppet collecting, right? So years ago, I was an intern. Gosh, so this would have been like 22 years ago. I'm going to date myself. I was an intern at Sesame Street, right?
Oh, nice.
And I have one of these. Awesome.
Wow.
And I don't know if you have one of these.
I do not have one of those. That is really cool. I do have a couple of cast and crew jackets from the Henson Company that I got off eBay, and I do have a couple of cast and crew shirts. Funnily, that's not a word. Surprisingly enough, I should say, I have friends that run a little boutique shop in Brigantine, New Jersey. It's called Island Items. Shout out to Island Items. And we've been talking, and they have a friend that was, I believe, it wasn't like a performer, but he was part of the crew of Sesame Street. Sometime during maybe the 30th anniversary, 20th anniversary, sometime in that time frame, and he knows that I'm a big Muppet fan. I have not met this person, but he knows that I'm a big fan, so he gives them some things sometimes for me that are from his personal collection from being a crew member on the show. And my friends actually gave me a cast and crew T-shirt that was drawn and silkscreen, I guess, from Sesame, but drawn by Carol Spinney, and it features, I think, Zoe and Elmo and a couple other characters. But yeah, it's a cast and crew shirt from like maybe the 25th anniversary or something like that. And like they just surprised it with me one day. I'm like, here you go. I'm like, oh my, it's nuts. So you never know. And some people, when Dave and I go out thrifting, people have watched his videos and seen my videos, and we were out one day, and a guy was like, "Hey, you're that Muppet guy, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "I actually just went to Goodwill or whatever, and I found some Muppet stuff, and I was hoping to run into you guys at some point, but they're in my car. You want to come to my car right now and check out my items in my trunk?" And I'm like, "This is how I get murdered. This is how this is going to go down." But I went out to the parking lot, and a really nice guy. His name was John, I believe. So John, if you're watching, shout out. I mean, and he had like a bunch of really nice stuff that he picked up. Some things were like brand new and still sealed and everything from Goodwill. He just picked up and was hoping to run into us, and here we were. So you just never know. And this is the thing. Here's the takeaway, kids, that I'll say. For years, I don't know if I was necessarily ashamed, but it was definitely something I didn't like broadcast. That like, here's my giant, crazy Muppet collection, right? And it seems like once I did that and kind of just let the cat out of the bag, things just start opening up, right? Opportunities open up. People come up to you and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed that. I had something like that as a kid." All these stories and the way you're able to connect with people on a whole other level really becomes apparent. And so that's why I love doing these kind of things, talking with you guys, and just sharing the love and the craziness with people, because it resonates with people.
Yeah.
And that's nice to hear. You're not the only crazy. Maybe their collection is Star Wars or Marvel or whatever it is, but everyone has that that little thing in their brain, like, oh, I can connect with this guy because he's crazy like me.
That you can do. And the reason I brought up like my coat and like these special specific things too, and I'll tell you, I enjoy some adult beverage from time to time, and you have an item that I'm very envious of. But I want to hear the story behind it. I don't know if it's handy to you. you have a pint glass from Rolf's Tavern, and I mean that was not
I
available to
do.
the masses. I love that thing. That's great.
I can show you. I have to go off camera for a second. I can grab it and show
Want to
everybody.
grab it? Go for it.
Yeah, let me go. Let me go grab it. It's right up the side here. I just
All
have to
right.
open the cabinet door. But
And while we're waiting for you, look at all those Fisher Price dolls, the mugs, the motorcycles, the Viewmaster set. I mean, I have that loose Kermit and Piggy. Your Piggy's. I wonder if that's all whatever crusty on the inside, because my Piggy like kind of died out from when I was a kid. But yeah, I mean, an amazing collection. So yeah, everybody who's watching, we got some people in here today. Lamont Wayne, Lamont wants to help out with an intern, and Sarah Jean. We've all met puppeteers, and I know you have met some too. But Chris has got this pint glass. So tell us about this pint glass.
Okay, so here's the pint glass. Wait, where am I? Here we go. Here's the pint glass in question from Rolf's Tavern. So
Awesome.
For those of you that have seen The Muppets, I mean, what a brilliant title for this show. I mean, they really racked their brains for the title of this show. I don't know where they got the name of this show from, but this is, indie TV show called The Muppets. It was on ABC for only like 16 episodes. And in this series, it's actually on Disney Plus now, which is great. So it's actually really funny to see people discovering the show now on Disney Plus and saying, "Hey, why was this show canceled? I never watched it before, but it's so great." Well, you didn't watch it before, and that's why it got canceled.
I thought it was. I liked it. I thought it was a good show.
I know, and the thing that I thought was lacking in that show was music.
Yes.
And when it came back from a break, and they had kind of fixed it, started adding more music into it, and I think that was really what was lacking. And it was just a little too late, I guess. But it's funny, but people watch it now on Disney Plus, like, "Oh, this show is really funny," and I'm like, and it's not like dumbed down for kids. It's like not adult, but it's not kiddie either.
It's Peter.
Right, and that's for me, like that's why the Muppets have been able to grow with me. Like, if you're, I mean, I'm not going to disparage anyone that collects Barney memorabilia as an adult, but that's not a show you could watch as an adult and really get the same thing out of it, right? The Muppets have always aimed higher than just for kids. So as a kid, I enjoyed the characters and some of the humor. And as an adult, there are so many more jokes and little asides and things. I mean, I was watching the Muppet Show on Disney Plus not too long ago, and Statler and Waldorf just nailed it. And I wasn't expecting. I hadn't seen that episode in a long time, and I just gut laughed. Because I was not seeing that one coming. Because usually sometimes you can see kind of what they're gonna. Boom! I was like, that is hilarious. Anyway, so Rolf's Tavern, from the ABC series The Muppets. Rolf owned a tavern in the show where the Muppets would then go to hang out after work and grab a beer. Literally, they grab beers in the show. There's even an episode where they go do karaoke, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they made these pint glasses for the show, and they also gave them out as cast and crew gifts as well, because they just made extra of them. Yeah. So this was available on, I think, on eBay after the show was canceled. A bunch of props were up on eBay from that they were just extra that they didn't want to store anymore, and this was one of them. So here is a Rolf's Tavern pint glass, and I will show you this. Here is a Rolf's Tavern coaster, and when the Muppets did a live performance at the Hollywood Bowl. I think that was 2000. Yeah, so September of 19. That's before everything changed.
When the world
right. So when this happened, I brought a bunch of. I was like, "Oh, what can I get to bring with me to get signed?" So it has to be like small. Like, I'm not going to bring the glass because that's going to break in my luggage. But there's a bunch of small things I could kind of like jam into a folder or something. And I had this coaster that I had already previously bought. So this is perfect because it'll go with my pint glass. And so Bill Barretta signed this as Rolf and as himself. And what's interesting about these coasters is that it's not a cardboard like a typical coaster is. It's hard plastic because it was designed to be used as a prop.
Gotcha.
So in case it got wet or something, it couldn't just have that ring on it and just dissolve and look awful. So it's actually hard plastic and not, like I said, cardboard like a typical coaster. So it's really it'll really last, and it really complements. I mean, grab the glass again. It really complements the glass.
Yeah.
You have the glass and you have this. I mean, I wish they would release more stuff like this to the general public. They made the show within a show of the Muppets was Up Late with Miss Piggy.
Yes.
And they released a mug for the I think Diamond Select Toys or something. I think it was Diamond Select. They released a mug of Up Late with Miss Piggy that anyone could buy. I also have an Up Late with Miss Piggy actual prop from the show as well, and you can see like the Up Late with Miss Piggy is just like basically just taped on or stickered
really?
on because no one's really going to see it. They didn't really make me anything else.
It's so funny.
So yeah, the actual mug you could buy was a little better produced than the prop. That's how you know it's a prop. It's like, oh, no one's going to see that. No one's going to. Anyway, so there's the mug. So there's the plug to watch the Muppets on Disney Plus, and I think people are watching it. And there's new things being made now. That the new Muppets Haunted Mansion special that came out in the fall was one of the best things the Muppets have done in years. So I'm glad things are happening.
Well, I'm sure you saw today the hot rumor that's going around. Hopefully, it's not just a rumor.
So yeah, the hot rumor that's going around, I hope I'm part of the reason why it's going around. I mean, I happened to see that last night, and I looked at that, and I went through the website that had leaked it and promoted it, and a bunch of their other rumors and whatever had seemingly come true. Like they said, oh, blah blah blah, it's going to happen, and then this was 3-4 months ago, and that would turn out to be true. So. Well, it's a rumor that there's an Electric Mayhem TV show possibly in the works at Disney Plus. It's just a rumor. I hope it's true. I've been pushing for more Electric Mayhem for years. Dr. Teeth is my favorite Muppet. I make that no secret. So I'm all about that. I thought that they were severely lacking in the last 2 movies.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I'm not sure why that was. I mean, they were more featured in Muppets Most Wanted than they were in The Muppets.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they really didn't have like a song. They really didn't weren't integral to the plot. They didn't really do anything, which I thought was just a waste of their musical abilities and talents.
Well, and I'll say this in regards to Doctor, and I mean, and just some of the Muppets in general. I mean, and the Muppets have been around for such a long time. But we can go back to this the Muppets, right? The ABC series. How many times can they do the story about Kermit and Piggy, the on again, off again thing? And again, we love Kermit, we love Piggy, we love Fozzie, we love Gonzo, and I mean, there's always room for those characters, but I even just want to focus on Kermit and Piggy, to branch off and give life, like Haunted Mansion, for instance, like that really showcased Gonzo and Pepe. Kermit and Piggy were there, very small part. That was Gonzo and Pepe's thing. And I think we started to even see that. I mean, unfortunately, it was after Jim Henson had passed away. But like in some of the productions after that, whether it be Treasure Island and Christmas Carol, Muppets from Space, Muppets Tonight, Kermit and Piggy kind of took the back burner and let other characters come to the forefront. And again, they can always go back to that thing. But the Electric Mayhem, first of all the main core group of puppeteers, that's everybody. So nobody's being left out. Everybody's there. I mean, music is timeless. I think in the end of 2021, like they completely wowed us. Probably the 2 best Muppet things. I mean, Haunted Mansion was fantastic, but for me, the best part of Haunted Mansion was that end Dancing in the Moonlight. Like, I mean, you can't get better than that. And then 2 weeks later, they did Mr. Blue Sky on YouTube, and probably 2 of the best Muppet musical performances in years that we've seen.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Whether the Muppets or Muppets Now had more of that in it,
Well, and I'll be frank with Muppets Now. That was an interesting. I kind of got what they were trying to do. that was a series of shorts that they
Yes.
kind of put together, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, we don't want them to be shorts anymore. We want them to be a series." Okay, so how do we put these series together? And then by the time they figured that out, or they wanted that to be like that, it was then during the pandemic, and they couldn't go
Correct.
out and really shoot anything, so they had to like make these things where they're like, "Oh, Scooter is on, and he's uploading things to the internet." Okay, fine. My problem with that overall concept and the core piece is that even with as shorts, there was no music. There was no like nothing with the band really. Not, like what's up with that? That's kind of weird. And then the really weird thing about that show is if you watch the shorts and you really, I don't want to say like, oh, you don't want to overanalyze them, but if you just kind of like think about it for a half a second more, almost every skit there that does not include a guest star.
Yeah.
The guest stars are kind of like more like talking about themselves or whatever these interviews, but all the other pieces there's some kind of odd educational slant to them, almost like Disney is trying to wedge because they couldn't get Sesame Street. They're trying to wedge the Muppets into this educational
I didn't think
track.
of it.
So the whole thing about Walter and Kermit photo bombing and Kermit being a photo bomber, like they're teaching you camera tricks, the rule of thirds and all this other stuff. And then
Yeah.
the Swedish Chef and Beverly Plume are actually teaching you how to cook something for real. And then
Throw
in
Danny Trejo in now.
yeah, and then Bunsen and Beaker are doing actual lab experiments. So
Yeah.
there's actual weird, real like things happening, and I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this. I'm entertained by it, but at the same time, I'm like, why are these characters from like they're doing this weird educational thing, whereas for the last 30 plus years, when you see Bunsen and Beaker, they're doing some like they're making, rabbits out of that are robots and, bananas that can, that are bullet, that can be thrown and all this other stuff. Like they're just like crazy, inventions. All of a sudden they're doing real experiments. What is going on here? So that's for me was kind of odd because it didn't ring true to what was going on. And I'm not sure why that was, but I'm glad they immediately course corrected and did Muppets Haunted Mansion because that
It's what they need to be doing.
right. And there's still a slight educational aspect to that, and that it's the moral of the story is, you don't be with your friends and hang out with your friends, and there's a time and place for your friends, all that stuff. But it's not like as hammered home as like those other things. Like, it doesn't really. Like, we don't need the Muppets to be doing that. That's not what the Muppets are for. I mean, there's this coming together. There's moral stories. There's these other things, but they're not trying to teach photography.
And going back to what you were saying about like the Muppet, and I think it was John Denver who was talking about it, like going back to the Muppets Celebrate Jim Henson. It was either one of the guest stars, and I think it was him.
You're right. I think I know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure you're right.
It was either John Denver or Harry Belafonte that they were talking about it. But and again, just also knowing people from the Muppet world, the beauty of the Muppets is that they are this group of animals, people, things, whatever you want to be, right? Whatever they are, they all have very distinct personalities. They oftentimes they all have their flaws, sometimes don't get along, but at the end, like you were saying with Haunted Mansion, it's about that acceptance. I mean, and that goes into all the stuff that Jim did, whether it be Sesame Street, Fraggle Rock, but
so that was Harry Belafonte in that special.
that's Harry Belafonte.
I thought you were going to talk about John Denver because when John Denver speaks, he talks about the irreverence and sincerity are used to quote convey real information. And then Rizzo pops up and says, "Did you know that John Denver's real name is John DeWitchenorf Jr.?" And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm using my irreverence and sincerity to convey real information." And like that is hilarious. Like that's really funny. And that's true. Like there's real information, there's real things, but like you don't have to like make it, try to put a round hole, in a square peg. Like, come on, what do you, because that's what Sesame Street does. The new Fraggle Rock is great in that regard. It has a little bit of a, it's a little over your head a little bit because as an adult, but it's really, really well done. So I highly recommend, the whole new Fraggle Rock reboot. If you don't have Apple TV Plus, maybe make a friend that has Apple TV Plus
There
and
you
go to
go.
their house and watch it together and enjoy it as a group, because you won't be disappointed. It's really, really good.
Yeah, and I just want to write. I might put Lamont Wayne was saying all the songs were fantastic in the Haunted Mansion, and Muppets Now felt like a YouTube channel that made it into a Disney show. And absolutely, like those you were saying the shorts, and they did. I mean, for a while they were doing those brilliant shorts on the internet years ago, and I guess that was kind of what laid the groundwork. At some point, Disney's like, oh, let's do this.
Well, right. I mean, that really showed that there was an audience again. They were not expensive to produce, and then they could. The nice thing about YouTube and streaming is that they get real time feedback.
Yeah.
About who is watching and when they're watching and the demographic, and they get all this stuff. Like, so with broadcast TV, the Nielsen ratings, right, in theory are supposed to show that kind of stuff. But what the Nielsen ratings are is a box in certain households that then are supposed to represent a broader factor of people. Well, the Nielsen ratings basically do not represent me, because every show I've ever loved got canceled in the first 5 episodes.
There you go.
Nielsen it doesn't represent me. But YouTube, streaming, all these things, they go right to the production companies and right to the owners of the content, and they can see right away, oh, we know exactly who's watching. We know exactly. So YouTube, those things came out, and they blew up the internet. They were going viral, and that's what really. At the same time, that's when Jason Segel was saying, "Hey, I would like to do some Muppet movie," and they're like, "Oh, well, we have these things, and we see they're sort of viable, and you have been in a bunch of hit movies, and we see you're pretty viable." So it was a nice little marriage. But that is exactly why I thought Muppets Now was lacking, because you already had all this great content that you put on YouTube. And YouTube doesn't own that. The Disney studio owns that. So it's not like you had to license those clips for something.
Yeah.
You could have easily just pulled those and mixed them with the new stuff to create that show. And that's exactly why when I watch it, I'm like, you had all this material. There's no reason you couldn't pull Jungle Boogie or Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever it was and put it into this and be like, oh, here, and you can still have Scooter uploading it to the internet to make Muppets Now. I mean, it doesn't. So that's why that one was a head scratcher for me. I was like, what? Why you have this content? I don't understand.
And really, Muppets Now is like kind of how Muppet Television was on the Jim Henson Hour, right?
Right. It's
the same kind of concept.
There's a video clip of Jim Henson talking about, in the future, there will be this system where everyday people will have their own network where they can upload videos, or they don't upload, but like share videos of themselves, blah blah blah. And they were going to have this whole series, but it didn't come to pass.
The 5 guys in a handy cam.
Yeah, it was like it was in the late '80s, right before he passed. There was kind of starting this idea up, and he talks about this. And I mean, that's literally what YouTube is and has become. And right after at that point in time, America's Funniest Home Videos was just starting to come on the air. So that concept of everyone having a camera at home and doing goofy stuff and showing it to the world because you just don't care anymore. That whole concept was big. And this is like, he was talking about this before even that. I mean, the guy, and that's, for me, that's one of the things that has always, like I said before, the Muppets, the humor transcends from being a kid to adult, but the whole technical aspect of the Henson Company and the Muppet characters and how things are done, that to me is really what has held my attention for all these years as well, because there's just so much artistry and technical wizardry that goes on. I mean, when you look at the making of Fraggle Rock, and they talk about how they used all these servers and gizmos and all this stuff to make the doozers work because they couldn't get a hand in this ball. So they had, a Waldo apparatus that was this big that would operate something this big, with cables. Now it would all be remote, but they had to do it with cables. Or in Dark Crystal, and you have 6 or whatever Skeksis running around, and there's a guy in a suit, and there's like 4 people running around behind trying to do the eye mechanisms and this thing and that thing. And it's like just incredible stuff. And it looks so easy and seamless, like these are living, breathing things. But it takes this a crazy amount of talent and technical know-how to really do it. And that's again one of the things that has really brought me through. It's not just oh, here's a bunch of puppets and here we're having a puppet show. It's look what they're doing with a piece of cloth and some ping pong balls, because I have plenty of cloth in my house and I have got ping pong balls in my house, but they don't sing and dance and make people happy. I mean, it's like a whole other thing.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting to see where this will go to. I mean, again, going back to Haunted Mansion, like you said, the numbers were instantaneous. There was a huge response to that. I don't even know if it's a movie. It was an hour long, but it's a movie. Well, I guess
it was supposed to actually be a TV movie, but for whatever reason it got in the production process they cut it down to special length. And there's something to be said about that. The TV movies the Muppets have done don't kind of when you hear about a movie, you kind of get a different level of production and the quality, and the TV movies weren't all that terrific. But Letters to Santa, the specials hit that sweet spot where it's just enough time to get the story, to get a couple of songs in, to get that sense of character and fun, and leave while you want more. And I think that's in the entertainment industry that's key, right? You want to leave the audience wanting more, not be like, oh, that should have been a half hour less.
But and you see that, but unfortunately, that's what happened with Most Wanted, right? The Muppets people wanted more after the Muppet movie, the Muppets, right? And then, I like Most Wanted.
I like Muppets Most Wanted. It has these weird issues that I thought they would have fixed in pre-production, and I'm not sure if it was rushed or what, but there's just some odd things, and like there's jokes that the Muppets normally wouldn't do. Like when Constantine falls on his crotch and dings himself, like the Muppets don't really do crotch jokes. That's like the Muppets don't really do that, so that's weird. And then, really what annoyed me on that movie was the ending. The entire last, I would say, I mean not like the whole movie, but like the entire last 5 minutes, where they have the guest stars on really bad green screen against the wall. Like it's really, really bad. Like you could have just had them in clips from their scenes. Like if you did that with green screen, it probably would be like the fact that you try to put them on this weird on the wall, and then you zoom out and they're not on the wall, right? You have a shot of the Muppets on the wall, and then you zoom in, and then there's Puff Daddy for a second. He's not in the wall when you zoom out, so what's that about? And then they do the CG fireworks. You're like, what is going on here? Why is all this weird CG? It's totally against all of the other principles that like I've been saying, like the technical wizardry, like oh, how did they do that? Oh, I definitely know how they did that, and they should have done it with a better green screen or whatever. Like you have better technology, you're better than this, And it was like, what is going on? And sadly, I think that I don't know, like they originally were going to call that Muppets Again.
Yeah, and that's in the song.
Yeah, that's how the movie begins. And by the way, the songs in Muppets Most Wanted are great. I mean, the fact that they weren't nominated, or maybe Disney did submit them, I'm not sure, but the fact that they weren't nominated for an Academy Award is a travesty, because they're actually better than the songs from the Muppets.
I agree.
And they deal less with the nostalgia, right? There's not there's no Rainbow Connection. They do Together Again, but they don't. It's not really the same thing. I don't know. It's different. The Interrogation song is one of my favorite songs on that.
I think the Celine Dion thing, the Miss Piggy song with Celine Dion, I have to say that's probably one of my favorite songs from the movie. And I think, I mean, Piggy and Celine Dion are fine. But I just love the part that like the rest of the Muppets sing, because I what I like to also hear is I like to see we always hear Kermit, Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, the band, and sing. I want to hear Link Hogthrob singing.
Yeah, Link Hogthrob and Pepe, they all kind of like come in and like little like, you know, with the little heads. I mean, it's really well done. It's really well done.
That was fantastic. We have a couple of questions here because we got people watching. I'll put up here. Caleb, Chris, love your channel and collection. How many Muppet greeting cards do you have? Saw some in your collection video, but you didn't show any.
Yeah. So there's a section I have. It's probably you can't see it on the screen. Maybe bigger than the screen even. It's probably a good, 6-8 inches of just greeting cards. Greeting cards are only this big each, but that's how many I have. It's got to be close to 50 of them or something.
Wow.
There's a ton, and that's again something that I had when I was a kid. My grandmother had this 5 and 10 card store, whatever it was, not too far from her house. So when I would go to visit her, we would take a walk to the store, and they would have. Now this is again. It was probably new old stock even then, but they would have these things that were left over from like 5 years ago that people didn't buy or whatever. They had these Muppet greeting cards from Hallmark in this store. So whenever I'd go there, I'd be like, "My grandma, can I buy a greeting?" She's like, "What do you need a greeting card for? You don't buy them." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's a Muppet greeting card." So I would start buying some of these Muppet greeting cards even back then. And now they've, I get, there's so many. I get them on eBay and all these other places. By the way, I have some. Here's shameless plug. I have some for sale. So if people are looking for some greeting cards, I have a lot of Muppet greeting cards, mint condition, not even not written in, doesn't say like "Love Mom" or anything. For sale in my store. So reach out and I can make you a deal. But anyway, yeah, I have a ton of these greeting cards. Again, it was just something that I had as a kid and just kept up with. They're really funny. I'm not sure who wrote them at the time, but they're and greeting cards are hard because you have to. You set the joke up with either an image or like a one-liner, and you got to open it up and nail it home. And some of them are really funny.
Yeah. Do you know DJ Bob?
I do not know DJ Bob.
You don't know DJ Bob. DJ Bob, thank you for watching us. DJ Bob, go check out the DJ Bob Show. He's got his own podcast. He's got all this great stuff. And he's asking about our good buddy Noel McNeil, but he wants to know, Chris, what is your favorite Bear in the Big Blue House item?
Oof. I don't have a whole lot of bear stuff. I do have a few. I gotta say, all right. So about a year or so ago, Dave and I were out at this toy store, and they had some old stock bear items that had not sold.
Oh, wow.
They were kind of getting a little dusty. They're up in the rafters. I said, "Hey, you're selling these for kind of a lot of money. I wonder if you can give me a deal." And they gave me a great deal. I got I want to buy all their stuff out. And one of the things I got, and you know what? I think I could show it to you.
All right. Oh, another show and tell. Guys, if you have any other questions to ask about Surgeon, what about Scooter? Scooter's great. We love Scooter. DJ Bob, thank you so much for joining us. We got to connect, you and I. We got to get on you on my show and me on your show. Here we got Bear. Here he is.
So here is this bear. He's actually there he is. So he's actually a bear puppet, and you put your hands in his hands, and you can do this whole thing. And the weird thing is though, he's not a puppet here. Like there's no hole in the back here for his mouth, but it's just the hands. So you have this hand puppet that's really a hand puppet.
Yeah.
Of bear, and it's fairly large. I mean, it's a full body bear, and you see it still has his tags and everything. This was made by Applause, and he's fairly large. I mean, you can see he's
that's pretty big.
He's a good 2 feet tall or something.
I was gonna say, honestly, he's probably the one that Noel has that he takes out to shows now is probably maybe like 2 or 3 times the size of that. That's not much. That doesn't look much smaller than what Noel carries with him when he goes out there.
Yeah, and that bear that Noel has, I'm like, that's so cool that Disney or whoever lets him do that, because it's he does all kinds of internet videos, and he goes like sniffs around like, "You smell good," like he does all that kind of stuff. It's really great. And it's great to see Bear back again. There's a rumor floating again, rumor mill. There's a rumor floating that Bear in the Big Blue House is going to be on Disney Plus soon. Maybe they're working out some contracts or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that would be great. I mean, again, real-time data. You're going to see exactly who's watching, and maybe there'll be some new Bear stuff to help promote it. Or
I have a feeling that if they get Bear on Disney Plus, there's going to be new Bear content.
Oh yeah, I mean,
people love that show.
How great would it be a Bear special, a Bear in the Big Blue House movie or something? You don't need to have them in the house. Like otherwise you have to recreate the sets and all that stuff. But you could do something else with those characters.
Well,
that'd be great.
They did Breakfast with Bear. That was like, and Bear was, and I mean, I've talked to Noel about that. He would go to like kids' homes, and Bear would have breakfast with them, which is crazy. DJ Bob says, I have the Bear cookie jar from the Disney store. Very rare.
Nice. Yes. There's a store. Right before I was setting up my museum, I found this store that had. It's like a home cooking store, and the guy has a huge collection of cookie jars. And he was selling his extras or whatever. And so I picked up a few, and he has that Bear in the Big Blue House cookie jar. And I've been back a few times, and I'm like, dude, just give it up. Just sell me that cookie jar. Come on. He's like, no, that's from my collection. I'm like, come on, man, you're killing me here, Smalls. Yeah, give it a go. So yeah, I do not have that. In all the stuff that's here, I do not have that. So good on you. That is tough to find, and it's hard to get those things shipped. So you usually find them on eBay. Yeah. To get them to show up in one piece, that's the key.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to make sure they're wrapped. I'm going to show you this piece of merchandise. This is something that I like. I'm sure you have this in your collection. I have.
Yep. I love those. They came out, and my aunt. Here's the thing with Disney parks, right? If something comes out and you hear about something out there, reach out to your family and friends, especially on social media, and say, hey. Anybody going to the park, anybody, because inadvertently, somebody at a certain time is going to be there, right? It's just everyone goes there all the time. So when those came out, my aunt was down there, and I asked her to pick them up for me. So I have that whole collection because she would have to be there, and they sat on the pegs apparently for a little while because people didn't really get like why the Muppets impersonating Star Wars characters. What's the deal with that? And then all of a sudden, people caught on, and they were gone like instantaneously after that. So they're hard to find these days, and they did a good job with those. I thought they were really well done, especially the later ones like Bean and Rizzo come in like a nice little package and all that. The other ones are all like open, like they're not open, but they don't come in that extra piece of plastic around the packaging. They're just the cardboard's more exposed. They got a little more dinged and ripped up, and those are easier, more easily to be kept nice in the box.
Yeah, and so you're saying they did the first thing, and I have there's like a 6-pack of like just regular PVC characters.
Yep.
And they're not movable. So I have that, and then they went into the action figure realm. So I guess they did Kermit and Piggy as Luke and Leia. Yep. Which is, I mean, but they're not brother and sister, whatever. Right? But the reason I really liked this figure, and like at one point I was really tempted to open him because he would have been in the right scale because Palisades never got to Bean.
Yep.
And I mean,
he probably is about that same Palisades scale too. Yeah.
So that's why I have this one too, just because I have a Star Wars collection, but I like that one because it's Bean, and that's what could have been. I mean, like the Palisades size, we could probably do a whole show on the stupid Palisades.
There was I believe the next wave they were going to do, I think he was going to be included. I think that he was one of those last few figures that they didn't quite get to, but he was thought about, and he was considered, right?
The one I wish that never came out was Sal. I would have loved to have Sal.
Right. That last line, they were going to do Bobo. They were going to do a whole Fraggle line. They were going to do a Sesame Street line. Those were the prototypes are out. I mean, this was when the Henson Company still had the rights to all the characters.
Yeah.
So when Palisades had the Henson license, they had to work out new deals for Sesame Street characters or Fraggle, but like they only had to deal with Henson people. Almost right around that same time is when the characters got sold to Disney and Sesame's Workshop. So all of a sudden, it got all crazy after that. But yeah, they were going to have in the Muppet line, there was going to be a Sesame Street whole thing, and they were going to throw a Gobo Fraggle in there too.
Well, and I think it was actually the next wave where it was going to be. I know Sal was in that wave. I want to say I think Link from Bear and Patrol was in there, and then I think they were like it was going to be like a one per case kind of thing. They were going to stick Gobo in there, it's like a surprise test run kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what could have been? What could have been? My God.
Right. I mean, there's a great book, a series of books called "The Toys That Never Were," the toys, something like that. Blake Wright, I forget the name of the book is escaping me, but he's made 2 volumes. The third volume's on its way. They were originally only released through Kickstarter, and you can get them at sometimes at conventions or online third hand. But they are all about toys that were unproduced. So they talk about the Dark Crystal line from the 80s, and then I think in both volumes so far they do delve into the Palisades, because there's just so much that they almost got done and they didn't.
It's crazy. I mean, and I have like I don't have the complete collection. Like when I say complete, and I know you probably have the complete collection, the variant of every single character. But I mean, every character that they had put out, I at least have. I have Kermit. I hope I have Kermit, right? But like, I at least got one of the Lips. I got one of the Johnny Fiammas, one of the Uncle Deadleys. You know, I need to have everybody's represented. I didn't go deep to get like, oh, there's the 3 Uncle Deadleys. You know, I have
all 3. I got all the different Marvin Suggses. I got all the variants of the band. Yeah, I got them all.
You know, but
it's like Pokemon. You got to get them all.
But what a complete thing. DJ Bob, yes, DJ Bob wants to connect with you, Chris. We can definitely make that happen. Caleb, again, he wants to say, I heard stories about Muppet Fest back in 2001. Did you go to that? Did you meet any Muppeteers or get anything signed at the event? I didn't go to Muppet Fest. Did you go to Muppet Fest?
I did go to Muppet Fest. I was very glad to go. That was originally supposed to happen the end of September 2001. And we all know what happened September 11, 2001. So that put travel, flights were shut down, everything. So they rescheduled to December of 2001. And my dad came with me. The 2 of us went. We made a little LA trip out of it, and it was odd. I wouldn't say it's odd, but it was an interesting convention, because today, and even then, like when you think about a convention, the typical thing then was like Star Trek conventions. Comic-Con
Creation, who did Star Trek conventions, too.
Right. So, comic conventions were they had Comic-Con from the 70s, but they were still very relatively small. So the most thing people knew about these kind of conventions was like Star Trek conventions. But this wasn't like you walk through a whole bunch of vendors and there was like panels. This was at this more like an actual theater, and when you walked in, there was one guy that was like not associated with Henson that was selling vintage merch, and then they had a table set up that the Henson Company sold some cast and crew and gift items and things. And then you walked into this theater, and you sat in this theater, and like every panel was on the stage. So they had a Muppet panel, then they had a Creature Shop panel, then they asked for volunteers, and you got to perform characters. I got to go on stage. I got chosen from out of the audience, and I got to help have a little lesson in how the Muppets work. Then they had a whole other room where they had some of the Muppets set up as posers, so you could walk around and see Kermit as Captain Smollett from Muppet Treasure Island, and they Fozzie and Settler Wonderful, all this stuff. So you could see the puppets there. And the nice thing is, if you bought I don't know if you had to buy the VIP package. If you bought the VIP package, you get to see the Muppet Show live, which is part of a fundraiser event they did. Which
I'll just say, if you, I don't know if it's on YouTube. Years ago, I was able to obtain a DVD copy of it.
I have a copy of that too. Because that was supposed to be filmed for television.
Really?
They were going to air it at some point, but the way they filmed it or whatever, I guess the broadcast standards just weren't up to snuff, whatever it was. So it never got released that way. So there is an official video of it, not like just someone handheld with it.
Yeah.
So it's really good. I recommend watching it. But at the convention itself, that was like the culmination. After the convention was over, that was like the last thing after it was over. We all went to this other event. But I don't remember if you had to have a special wristband. I'm not quite sure. But the performers were all obviously there, and they set up in the hallway, and they said, okay, at this point in time, you can bring one item with you and get it signed by whoever you want. Like you can bring one item per person or one item, whatever. So I brought my copy of Jim Henson The Works and had everybody sign it down the row. But the nice thing was you would see some of the performers just walking around. So while I was walking around and looking at the room full of the Muppet posers, I saw Jerry Nelson over in the corner just hanging out. And I was like, you're Jerry Nelson, aren't you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, would you mind taking a picture of me? And would you mind signing this other thing for me? So I got him to sign a couple other things while I was there because I just happened to run into him. And that's the thing, like, you know, I didn't become an Eagle Scout, but I was a Cub Scout. And the Cub Scout motto is always be prepared, right? So that's one of my takeaways is when I go to events, I'll bring extra things with me, and because you never know who you're going to run into. So like that's how I got a lot of things signed over the years. Is because like I said with the coasters, other things like I'm going to this event, I might see the guy, see everybody, I might get a chance to say hi, I might get a chance to whatever. So I brought something with me anyway. Like that's
just in case.
So
Nothing wrong with that.
You just never know. So yes, Muppet Fest. I would hope they would do that again, but it's tough now because it's a Disney thing. So I think the closest thing we're going to get to a Muppet Fest is if they do something at the D23 event or something else. But the problem with those things is they don't tell you that stuff in advance. You have to buy a ticket and maybe there'll be something. So I don't have a ticket for D23. If someone wants to take me as their date, you're more than happy to go. But because it's not a Muppet specific event, I didn't really feel like it was worth, buying a ticket of the possibility and flying out to LA or whatever on this whim that there just might be something. And there probably will be. Now that the Muppets are doing these more things, they probably will have something. But again, I didn't get any. I don't have a ticket. So like I said, I'm a good +1. So if someone wants to bring me with them, I'm in.
And listen, for and I'll be honest with this too. In regards to meeting the Muppeteers, like, but there are a handful of people affiliated with Muppets and Sesame that do the convention circuit. So I mean, if you're a fan of conventions, check and see what's going around your area. People are around. And again, like, again, pandemic has a shortened thing. If you're here in the tri-state area, and I'm sure you've been up to the Museum of the Moving Image as well. I mean, that what a great opportunity.
Highly plug that museum. Absolutely. If you're looking for a day trip, if you're in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, whatever, Pennsylvania area. I mean, I'm in Pennsylvania, and when I go there, it's about. I could drive there in probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, but driving to New York is not my cup of tea. So I usually take the train, and it's for me, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours each way. Yeah. So I mean, it's a trip, but I'll go there, and they'll have great events. Craig Shubman, he's the head of the Jim Henson Legacy. He really puts together amazing programs. A lot of times, people that worked on the productions are there, and they'll sign things for free. They're just really happy to meet and greet fans because they make these things in a bubble. It's not usually a live performance kind of medium, so they're really happy to see people.
Yeah,
and it's really nice that they do that. So if you live somewhere else and you happen to be in the New York area for something, or you're looking to make a trip, I will highly recommend going to the Museum of the Moving Image. It's in Queens. Go there. I also will plug the Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta.
Down in Atlanta, yep.
Yeah, I will highly plug that. I have not yet been there since their new renovation. They've added a whole new Henson wing. The last time I was there was a few years before the pandemic. I really want to get down there and see the new Henson wing. I was part of the fundraising effort. I gave them a good amount of money towards their fundraiser because Steve Whitmire had donated a bunch of cast and crew items that he had gotten, some Muppet items that were pretty rare. So I picked up a bunch of stuff to help support the museum. Actually, in fact, I got something else to show you.
All right.
Everyone's gonna freak out on this one.
I can't wait to see what this is. Yes, but I do remember that Steve he did do that prior to the museum opening, which was really cool.
So while I was at the museum this year, my friend Joe Fiore was down there for Dragon Con.
Gotcha.
And apparently, you know, what happened?
Full screen.
So well, I'm not going to show it yet. I'm not going to show it yet. So what happens at Dragon Con is there's a whole puppetry track, and people go. A lot of Muppet Henson fans go down there. The Center for Puppetry Arts has like a Dark Crystal or Labyrinth ball, all kinds of great stuff. They have a cosplay event, all kinds of great stuff. So because they know a lot of Muppet fans are going to be in the area, the museum store stocks up on vintage and things that they find in warehouses that the Hensons donate, or they go on eBay and find things that fans are going to like and sell them in the gift shop. So Joe was down there this September, and he's calling me and texting me and says, you got to see this stuff. Do you have this thing? You got to get this thing. And while he's showing me the things that he thinks I want, which I did, I saw a bunch of stuff that I had been looking for years. And so he bought a few things for me. One of them is this.
Oh, let me give you the full screen here. What is this now?
This is a vintage Labyrinth Ludo costume from Collegeville Costumes back from like 1986 or something.
And they were selling this at the museum.
At the museum, brand new, still in the package. The initial cellophane was starting to come off, so I just re-glued that. Otherwise, it's all perfect. And then I went to the Container Store and bought this acrylic box because I didn't the box was so fragile and just like this real thin cardboard, so that way I could even hold it, because otherwise you touch this thing, it's going to fall apart. So this is one of those old school 80s costumes that we had back in the day, where it was a real thin, cheap piece of plastic mask and a plastic smock. Usually the smock was the name of the character or closet. Because it's like, oh yeah, of course, Cookie Monster is going to wear a smock that says Cookie Monster on her. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I'm not sure if this actually, if Ludo says that on his chest, but I know it's just like a fake ball of fur. But yeah, this is a original Labyrinth Ludo costume.
That is cool.
And like that's the kind of stuff you'll see at these stores sometimes. You'll just see this vintage merch that's brand new, and where this would go for probably a couple $100, if not more, on eBay. Let's just say I paid significantly less than that.
That's great.
And I was like, okay, so poor Joe is there with his luggage and is like, how am I going to get all this stuff home? I'm like, just send me the bill for the shipping. It'll still be less than I would ever pay on eBay if it went out to auction. So it's fine.
That's great, though.
So he got this and a couple other things for me, and I am always just blown away when I see stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god! Because when I was there years ago, the woman that worked at the gift shop, I asked her if she had any more like vintage stuff, and she said, "Oh, I have a fiery costume."
Oh my gosh!
Like this. I guess it was like this. So I said, okay, great. She went in the back room. She's like, oh, I can't find it right now. And apparently maybe she either couldn't find it or they were trying to hold it for Dragon Con or something, because I was there like, maybe it was before that. Yeah. So she couldn't find it, and I called the store. I'm like, remember me? You talked to me. Like, I wonder if you could ship it to me. He's like, oh, we can't find it, or maybe they already sold, whatever. So, and maybe she was thinking it was Ludo, and maybe they found it for all these years. I'm not sure what happened. But regardless, I now have the Ludo costume, but not the fiery one. But, that's good enough for me. That's fine. You never know where you'll find these things. You just never know. What you're going to see out there traveling around. That's one of the things I've learned with being with Dave is that, we'll be out and it'll be we'll hit like 10 stores in a day or something, and we'll find like little dinky things, nothing crazy, and then all of a sudden we go into one store and we hit the mother lode. Like underneath something is something else. We're like, how is this even sitting here? I mean, I remember we were at one store. We were out all day, and we're at this. At the end of the day, we came across this antique mall we just happened to like, oh, we looked on our phones, like, what's in the area? What can we go to? What's around? Oh, there's this place on the street. Let's go. Okay. So we walk in there, and they have 4 of the original Avenue Q posters from the original Broadway run, amazingly framed, with these, or really ornate frames, and every single one of them is signed by the entire cast, the original Broadway cast. So I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. And they weren't asking all that much money. And I'm telling you, the frames cost more than what I got these things for. I mean, so I wasn't going to buy all of them. Somebody else, when I was there, somebody else bought, I think, the nerd, the uptight character. I forget his name. Rod. They bought Rod. I already had a Trekkie Monster poster. And this was and I had to like go through and I looked, and I was like, ooh, should I buy another Trekkie Monster that's signed and replace the one I have, or buy a different character and add to it, right? So I wound up getting the Lucy the Slut poster, and it says like, warning, full puppet nudity, like on this giant poster that's signed. And I have it in my living room, and people are like, what is that?
Jesus.
But it's great. And like I said, signed by the entire cast, like it would cost me, like I said, the framing alone cost more than the poster did, and you just never know. Like how some guy, like somebody either died or was downsizing or whatever, and all of a sudden, boom, they're here in this antique mall. You just never know what you're going to find. So just go out and hunt and explore. And
I'll say, you guys find like, and I have a buddy of mine who lives down there near Allentown, so I've been to a couple. I can't think of the big mall that's down there by Allentown. Oh gosh, I can't think of it. But there's it's like a warehouse. I can't think of the name of it though. Like the Kunji Allentown area. But they've done conventions there. That's where they did the other Pennsylvania, like the Great Pennsylvania Con.
Okay.
I can't think of the name of the place. It'll come to me. I'll tell you later on. But I go down there with him, and I've seen you guys at that place before. That's where they had. I'll tell you, this is how you remember this place. There's a guy there. He's got a booth, and all he has are PVC characters. Because I know you guys went there and
yes, Merchantville, the Merchantville Mall.
Yes.
The Merchantville Mall is like not really a mall. It was like a mall back in the day, kind of, but it's just kind of like become like more like separate little antique stalls kind of thing. And one guy has a big collection of toys. So what happened was something happened with the zoning there, or something weird. And so they used to have toy shows and all these things there, and that would help bring people into the mall. And now they don't do that there anymore because of whatever zoning thing. So I was actually looking up. Dave and I are going to be at the next version of that, of what used to be the Merchantville kind of toy show. It's the Great PA Toy Show. It's in March. It's in Allentown. I think it's at the South Mall in Allentown. I'm going to try to find the dates for you real quick. But we're going to be there. We have a booth. We'll be selling some vintage Muppet stuff and some other vintage toys. So come out and see us there. But yeah, that's that place. A lot of people are now moving out of that mall and into, sadly, other like actual malls because they're desperate for people. So excuse me. So that you see, it's funny when you go into what would you consider a regular mall, and all of a sudden there's nothing in a good chunk of it, and it's like now become an antique mall or something. It's kind of odd to see, but that's the world we're living in.
Now, let me just ask you, because I know we've gone for a while, but 2 questions I want to throw at you. So, you've talked about going and doing these shows with Dave. You sell Muppet vintage stuff. Now you're selling duplicate stuff. You're not selling things that you don't already have, are you?
That's correct. Yes, if I'm selling it, I probably don't already have it. Otherwise, I'll just be rebuying it from myself, and that would just defeat the point of everything. But yeah, so what I've been doing is selling. At first, I was just trying to sell just Muppet stuff, and unfortunately, there's just such a small niche of Muppet collectors that it wasn't, keeping everything going. So what I've been doing is selling other things, because a broader audience, you can find more stuff, and using that money and using that stuff to help support and buy more stuff for the museum. So it's all worked out that way. So if you buy some He-Man something from me, it's going to turn into something Muppet eventually. That's the way it works.
And the other question, because you mentioned Avenue Q, and Caleb said Rick, and I've had Rick Line on. Yes, he does make great puppets. He's Rick is a great guy, and a quick little aside about Rick. Rick, Noel McNeil, and Jim Martin, they all were like the puppeteer, and I think there were a couple other guys. I just know those three guys definitely because I know those three guys. They were the puppeteer team for Ninja Turtles 3, which was the one in Japan. Yeah, so
I have still yet to see Ninja Turtles 3 because it was the one live action Turtles movie that did not virtually feature the Henson performance system and the puppets also. So
you had some really good guys there.
Right, so I kind of boycotted that movie because I guess now you've mentioned that it kind of comes full circle because those guys were eventual Henson puppeteers and performers. So all right, maybe I should finally give it a chance now.
You should watch it.
I heard it's not great, but I mean, I should probably watch it.
It's yeah. But my question is, in mentioning Rick Line, mentioning Jim Martin, right? So Avenue Q, obviously not a Henson production, right? So in your collection, how deep down the rabbit hole do you go? So Avenue Q, Great Space Coaster. Do you go those because they have that really deep Muppet connection to them?
I have a couple great Space Coaster items that Jim has sold. Jim is trying to. Jim bought the rights to the Great Space.
I'm going to grab something for a second too. Keep talking about Jim. I'm here.
So I'll plug Jim Martin's Great Space Coaster campaign because he bought the rights and is trying to restore the physical film elements. He has all the actual film stock of the shows and is trying to get them back on streaming or whatever to get some recognition and to bring back that show and to do all that. So one of the conventions he was at, I bought some autographs. He had a signed picture of Gary Gnu because that was his character, and he had a couple like little Great Space Coaster postcards. So I have a couple of things, but not much. The only things that I kind of go offshoot Henson Muppet wise are like Return to Oz. I have a few things because that was Brian Henson's first gig outside of the Muppets. So I have a few Return to Oz things in the collection. I'm trying to think like the Creature Shop. I mean that technically is Henson. So like I have some Flintstones creatures, like the animatronics for the live action Flintstones movie were done by the Henson Company. I have some Babe things because that was Henson Creature Shop. I do that kind of stuff. I don't go too far off with performers of different shows because otherwise that's a deep dive. You can go all kinds of crazy. But I mean I do have a few things like I do deep dives of Henson specific things. Like I have some Pajamanimal stuff and some What This World After Seuss, things that the Henson Company produced.
Other puppetry things that you don't deep because I'm going to share these. I bought these. I found these at a flea market. And I know I gave Jim one because I found a duplicate of it, but and because I know these guys, I have from
Puzzle Place, right? That's
Leon, and I think Jim's character's name was Jim, so Leon, which is Noel backwards, so that was Noel's character.
That's cool.
That's Jim's character. So I saw these, I was like, oh, how they had all the Puzzle Place figures. I said, I got to get these guys because I know these guys.
I will tell you. One other thing, like a deep dive, I don't have it in the Muppet collection. I do have it in my animation kind of stuff in another room. I do have some Eureka's Castle. I have the Bat, and I'm looking for Magellan, and Magellan was performed by Noel. So I'm looking for. They made like Burger King hand puppets.
They're Pizza Hut, and they're like kind of like these kind of things, yeah. Because they did like I think they did Beauty and the Beast ones later on, and like they were like these rubbery things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the first ones, I think maybe Pizza Hut or maybe Burger King were like the Land Before Time, right?
Yes.
They did those first, and then those are the most famous ones. But yeah, it's funny. Of all the places we go, I don't really even come across those because I've been looking for them. And then, of course, once you find something, this is the way this works too. Once you find something, if I just go to eBay and just buy it, the next day I will find it at a thrift store for 50 cents. I mean, that's just how these things work. So I'm holding out hope I will find these Eureka Castle puppets for cheap, at a flea market somewhere. But yeah, that's about as far as I go on some of these other things because, yeah, like I said, it gets a little crazy.
Yeah. So, listen, we did like an hour and a half tonight. This has been great. And again, hey, listen, DJ Bob has Magellan and the whole set. But he's not DJ Bob. DJ Bob is good friends with Noel. He's not partnered with Magellan. I know that.
Where's DJ Bob? Come here, DJ Bob. What do you got? What do you got for me? What do you got? And I want to shout out to my friend Lamont who's watching. So Lamont, what's happening, buddy? I've known that guy for almost 20, 30 years now.
Well, before when you stepped away, he said he's what did he write? Because and I said this. He said he would help you be your intern. So
Lamont, anytime, any place, my friend, anytime. So I will do my plugs since we
plug away.
So Dave and I, Cinema Sickness and I, will be at the Pennsylvania Toy and Comic Super Show. That's at the South Mall in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Saturday, March 12th from 10 to 2. We will be there. Come say hey. We really appreciate when people come over and just hang out with us and talk with us. We were at RetroCon in the fall, and we had a bunch of people that watch the videos come over, and one guy brought over like a bag full of stuff for me. I mean, it just really amazing, people that are watching these things that I had no idea people would even watch and care. So it's really cool. So we'll be there for that. Please check out Muppet Stuff on Facebook. It's Muppets Stuff on Twitter. I have Muppet Stuff on Instagram, and of course the Muppet Stuff YouTube channel where we show off so much more of the collection. The blog that I run through Facebook and Twitter is primarily about Muppet news and merchandise that's coming out and production stuff. But the YouTube videos are where we show off the collection and talk about stories and go into all kinds of history of different productions, specific shows. There's going to be a video coming up all about Fraggle Rock specific stuff because we want to kind of tie into the new Fraggle Rock reboot launching. So there's a whole video just about some pretty rare and vintage Fraggle Rock items. So be on the lookout for that. And I want to thank you guys for having me, and hopefully we'll see you in person at something. I don't know if you're going to do RetroCon or the PA Comic Con, if they're going to come around again or what. But
I will make my way down there. Absolutely. I have some buddies down there. So, I mean.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe I'll just meet up with you and check out the museum.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're not coming for a convention or something, please, let me know. You're welcome. And I want to thank your boy Michael. He was, how I talked about if you see something being released at the parks, reach out to somebody. Well, I happen to know that D23 was going on, whatever the special thing was happening down in November, I guess it was early November, and Michael happened to be posting something on Facebook that he was there. So I was like, dude, can you go to this special D23 store? There's a whole Muppet section over there, and he didn't pick this up for me. I happened to find this later. But this was in one of the videos, in the pictures he showed me. It's kind of hard to see in the light.
Yeah,
this is a Muppet Studios journal. So let me see if I can get it closer. Yeah. You see, this is the new Muppet Studios logo, and you take this little band off of here, and it's a whole journal, and it says, where am I? Here we go. Property of, you put your name there. It has little fake signatures of all the characters.
Nice.
And then the rest of the pages are just blank.
Gotcha. That's still pretty cool. Yeah.
But the thing was, this year they've made a whole bunch of just really bizarre limited edition Muppet merchandise, especially available at this D23 event. And they had Pizza Rizzo merchandise and Muppet Vision stuff and Muppet Haunted Mansion stuff and this kind of stuff.
I got the Muppet Mansion shirt, the
wallpaper shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all that stuff that was exclusive to D23 members as well, but you can get that on Disney's website. Just really bizarre how it was all so exclusive. I don't really care for that. I mean, I like it because it holds its value collectively, for collector's value, I guess you'd say. But you can't grow a brand that way. You need people to go out and be wearing the merch and wearing things that it's just everywhere. So there was a little too much exclusive merch for me, in such a short amount of time. But I just want to give him a shout out and say thank you again, because I got a bunch of stuff that I'm going to be showing in a video that's going to be just exclusive, like a whole, Haunted Mansion / Muppet Studios exclusive video that I'm going to be producing soon, just to show that stuff off, because there's just so much of it, and it was like no one ever saw it in the store because it was only available at one place over here or online over there and something else. So again, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see all kinds of crazy exclusive Muppet stuff, and where we talk about all kinds of craziness behind me.
And if you guys are, for those of you who are joining us tonight from Chris's audience, go to Incredicon HV. We have some cool guests coming up in the next few weeks. I'm not going to say it. I'll tell Chris after we're done. But watch this, because I got a really cool guest coming up, hopefully in the next month, that Muppet related. It'll be a really cool. Let me ask you too quickly. I was just thinking merchandise. This Lego thing, do you think these blind bags are coming or what?
Well,
or is that
the
just
crazy thing about these rumors that have been coming out recently is that they are usually pretty true.
Yeah.
we hear these rumors, and then things fall through, but lately the rumors have been following through. I know a guy, the same guy that got the Sesame Street Lego idea made. He was trying to get Muppet and Labyrinth and all different kinds of Henson-related Lego sets to be voted on, but for whatever reason, they didn't get very far in the voting process. But the Sesame Street one, they took a shine to that and went to town with it. But this is, this seems like it's right from Lego, and it seems like it's legit. I mean, I don't really see people making packaging like that on the black market and just like fan creations. Like a fan would not make a bag. A fan would make a figure, but you don't really see them making the blind bag for it. So I think it's legit. I'm all for it. Again, what's happening though is it's all these blind bags, exclusives. It's every single thing. I just got a whole set of mystery puzzle pins that Disney Parks put out, and there was like one pin in a box, it's a blind box, and you have to buy a whole bunch of them to see if you can get the pins. I was fortunate enough. I went on eBay and bought a bunch of blind boxes and did an unboxing. Again, that'll be a video coming soon. Where I was fortunate enough to get most of the figures without getting too many duplicates. But I went on to eBay and found the rest of them, so I was able to complete basically the set. But again, all these things are blind bagged and all. It's
want to build that demand.
I mean, yeah, they want you to buy extra crap, so you just keep buying more to get to your thing. I get the reason behind it, but it's like, does everything have to be that? Now it's like, oh my goodness. I mean, there's so many things that I need to collect that I can see, and still like, oh, I'm missing a whatever of that. I'm missing that one in this set. I'm missing this. When it comes to those things, like, wow, I've been trying to maybe just wait and hold out. Like, I'll buy a couple of blind bags, see which ones I get, and then complete the collection that through trades or eBay or whatever. Just because it's mentally I can't do it. it's just too much.
Those Muppet blind bags come out. My little guy, he likes the blind bags, and I'm at the store feeling the bag, and okay, this feels like whatever it is.
Well, that's when Vinylmations first came out, right? They were Disney's big, blind box thing. When they first came out, there was this rumor that you could figure out what's inside, but they didn't tell you what the trick was. Just like, oh, it'd be like, I looked online, like, you can figure out, any smart person can figure out the trick. And I'm like, I consider myself a fairly smart person. Maybe I'll figure out what the trick is. So I was down at the park, and I picked up one of the boxes, and I noticed that if there was the barcode, right? So if you took the barcode and kind of scraped away the little, because it was a sticker or whatever, that they had letters underneath that.
Oh.
And then I went on to the Vinylmation website, or even behind on the box, right? They would show you all the characters that were available in the line. So let's say I was looking at this one and it had the letter G on it, right? So I bought this thing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do an experiment. I bought this thing. It's the letter G. I bet it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I bet it's blank character. Open it up. Boom. That character. So I'm like, okay, if that's the trick, I'm going to go find this letter And then boom, I found the chaser because that's it all corresponded. And Disney caught on, and then you couldn't scrape. They didn't want you scraping off the sticker anymore. They knew what you were doing. They changed the pocket. They changed there's no more of that. So they knew. And then what people were doing was getting really brazen with it and opening up the boxes and like feeling the inner packaging around. Like, wow, people are really crazy. You know,
well, I mean, back in the Lego blind bags, there used to be like this little dot system that would be on them in the early ones, and you could it's like a weird pattern, and you could go online, you'd see like the pattern, like okay, so there's like 3 this way, 1 this, and then you would know, and it was, but they stopped doing that too because people caught on.
Right. So I mean, there are some tricks into the trade that you can figure out. Even if you go online, you can barely even go online. Like I said, barely, and like figure it out yourself. Like I can figure it out. But the nice thing about Lego is, even if they're a blind figure or they come with a set, at all these toy shows I've been going to, there is almost always
A Lego
some dealer that has an acrylic box that has rows and rows and rows and shelves of Lego figures, because they know that these kids are looking for a specific character. Like they want something that's up. It was a blind box. It was only available in this.
Some of those guys have, I'll say some of those are not like authorized Legos. We know that.
Well, that's probably true too. It could be, there could be some bootlegs in there. I mean, I don't know my Legos well enough to know that, but I'm assuming
they look good. They look good. I'll tell you that much. The bootlegs are good looking now.
So maybe I'll see the Muppet ones in there and just buy them out of a toy show box. Because I mean, if you're gonna spend $2 to $5 more per figure, that's still okay for me than buying a whole figure that I don't need for whatever it is. So,
gotcha.
It just depends. So, tricks of the trade, make friends and do trades that way. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways of going about collecting. So, far be it for me to tell you how to collect your own stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you again so much for joining us tonight. Just hang on while we end the show, though. But everybody, stay tuned. I mean, I'll stay tuned tonight, but keep your eyes peeled. We have some announcements. We have a couple of teams going to do some live events in the next few months. And we have a couple of cool, like I said, guests that are coming up in the probably the next month or so as well. So stay tuned for that. Go check out Muppet Stuff. Check out Incredicon HV. And we'll see you next time on here. Lamont, thank you for joining us. Caleb, Sarah Jane, everybody. DJ Bob, great to see you. So yeah, we will see you all real soon, and we'll just chat in a second, Chris.
See you, everybody.